and I am not sorry for the things I did do.
This convict showed no remorse for his victims. Welcome back, Charlie here. Some criminals are so evil that they mock their victims in court.
She hated you. You're a loser.
From killers who laughed at their victims' families, to convicts who wore t-shirts making fun of their victims. First, we have to look at Dante Wright. This killer was seen smiling and laughing during his sentencing. Dante Wright from Michigan was only 17 years old when he ended someone's life. Dante had tried to rob an 18-year-old high school student named Jordan Klee, but things went wrong when Jordan fought back. So Dante ended up using a firearm to end Jordan's life. He was quickly arrested and it seemed like an open and shut case. But despite all the evidence, Dante Wright said he was innocent and believed he would get away with ending Jordan's life. During Dante's trial, Jordan Klee's mother went up to the stand. She explained how devastated she was ever since her son's life had been taken away.
I've lost the enjoyment of holidays and birthdays and of everyday life. On the nights I manage to sleep, I wake up hearing my son scream for me, to then have to realize all over again, night after night, my son is dead.
But while Jordan's family were literally crying on the stand, Dante was seen smirking and laughing at them. Dante also interrupted to say he'd be home soon.
I just want to tell y'all, I'll be home soon, R.I.P. Keon, I love my family.
That's all you got to say.
He really showed zero remorse, and believed he would serve no prison time for the murder. The judge was outraged by Dante's actions, and even said he was considering taking the case to trial, which means Dante Wright could have been sentenced to life behind bars. Dante Wright's lawyer even apologized to the victim's family on his behalf. When your own lawyer apologizes for your actions, you know you messed up. Dante Wright was sentenced to 25 to 52 years in prison, which means he could be out by the time he's 42. Some said this was far too lenient considering he even admitted to taking Jordan's life, and on top of that seemed to find Jordan's family's sorrow amusing. Dante Wright definitely is one of the most remorseless killers I've ever seen. Next, we have to look at Ronnie O'Neal. In 2018, Ronnie O'Neal took the life of his girlfriend and their 9-year-old daughter. Ronnie O'Neal had a long criminal history, but was always able to keep a job and provide for his family. However, in 2018, Ronnie O'Neal's behavior became more erratic, and one night he took his girlfriend's life using a knife and a gun. He then took his 9-year-old daughter's life with an axe, and also injured his 8-year-old son with a knife. He then set his family's Florida home on fire to cover the evidence, but thankfully Ronnie's 8-year-old son survived. He was able to call the police and said that "my father shot my mother." Ronnie O'Neal was soon arrested for taking his girlfriend and daughter's life, as well as trying to end the life of his son. You may think after doing such serious crimes you'd want a lawyer, but Ronnie O'Neal decided to defend himself in court. He made crazy allegations, for example saying that the whole thing was orchestrated by the police and the Illuminati. He also showed zero remorse, saying that his girlfriend and child had been sacrificed for the greater good.
If you think I'm here to play around with y'all, God no.
All right, Mr. O'Neal, please stop.
At one point, he asked his son if he hurt him, to which his son said yes.
Did I hurt you that night of this incident?
Yes.
This caused Ronnie to have an outburst in court. Ronnie was shouting so much he had to be escorted out of court. Despite Ronnie's amazing defense of himself, he was unsurprisingly found guilty. The judge even said this was the worst case she'd ever seen.
This is the worst case I have ever seen as far as the facts go.
Ronnie O'Neal said he was not sorry for what he did.
And I am not sorry for the things I did do.
But thankfully, he was given 3 life sentences plus 90 years, meaning this dangerous man will never be let out of prison. Although it is devastating that his girlfriend and daughter passed away, thankfully Ronnie O'Neal's son is alive and well today, and is being looked after by new parents. Moving on, we have to look at Randall Moore. In 2009, Randall Moore from Iowa took the life of his wife. His wife, Therese Ann, had divorced him, and had also got a restraining order against against Randall. This enraged Randall as it meant he could no longer see his daughter. So in response, he kidnapped his wife and then ended her life. Randall also shot a police officer named Todd Rowland. Officer Todd had showed up to help after hearing reports of screaming. Randall Moore was charged with first-degree murder, but showed zero remorse in court. Randall said he'd taken Therese Ann's life in self-defense, but it was later proved that his wife was unarmed at the time. Therese Ann's mother, Sheila, said to Randall, "What you did to my daughter was evil, hateful, and despicable." Sheila also said that Randall was now dead, rotting, and repulsive to her.
You did to my daughter, Therese Ann Marie Lynch, was evil, hateful, and despicable. You are now dead and rotting and repulsive to me.
But that's when Moore said something very out of pocket. Randall said that Therese Ann hated her mother, and also called her a loser.
She hated you. You're a loser.
Just imagine someone ending your daughter's life and then calling you a loser to your face. He also said he feels absolutely no regret.
I have not 1 ounce of remorse for Therese Ann's death.
Which caused the jury to gasp. Randall also said he hopes this happens more when mothers don't want fathers to see their kids. The judge, Joel Novak, was outraged by this. Randall Moore was given 3 life sentences for taking Therese Ann's life, and a further 25 years for shooting Officer Todd Rowland. After Randall was sentenced, Therese Ann's mother was crying. She said she was happy Randall was finally in prison, and her family could now begin to move on. Now we have to look at Michael Swanson. Michael Swanson from Iowa was a star student. He was academically genius, but when he was 17, he did something that changed many people's lives forever. He decided to rob a convenience store called Come and Go. He then shot 2 store employees before leaving. The 2 shop employees later passed away. Michael fled to Minnesota, but after a high-speed chase, he was arrested. In 2011, his trial took place, and he was given a life sentence for the 2 killings. He knew that he would have no chance at getting released, which might be why he was smiling and laughing during the sentencing. He also made very nasty remarks to the victim's family, who then began to cry in the courtroom, all while Michael Swanson grinned and laughed. During his interrogation, cops asked him how he felt when committing the crime. In response, he said that taking those people's lives made him feel powerful.
How did it feel when you pulled the trigger? I felt powerful.
But I don't think Michael will feel so powerful now that he'll be spending the rest of his life behind bars. When Michael was given his sentence, he also cursed in court. Moving on, let's look at Jamie Osuna. This convict may look scary, but I can promise you that what he did was far scarier. Jamie Osuna took a woman's life at a motel in California. In court, he said he enjoyed doing this. He also said that he was a Satanist who'd taken other people's lives as well. He received life in prison and began to laugh when he was given this sentence. But that was only the start of Jamie's crimes. While in prison, Jamie was given a cellmate named Luis Romero. But one day in 2019, guards checked their cell. That's when they found Luis Romero beheaded. That's right, Jamie Osuna had taken Luis's life. Jamie Osuna also made a necklace made out of parts of his cellmate's body, including one of Luis's eyes and one of his fingers, and even a portion of his lung. He was given yet another life sentence for taking Luis Romero's life. Once again, he began laughing and making jokes in court, and even asked to see the crime scene photos, saying that he would love to see what he'd done. Next, let's look at TJ Lane. Thomas Michael, better known as TJ, was a high school student from Ohio. In 2012, when TJ was only 17, he did something that shocked the world. He took various lives at Chardon High School. This sadly ended 3 people's lives. That was bad enough, but TJ's actions in court were even worse. But TJ's actions in court also shocked the world. He decided to wear a t-shirt that said "Killer," totally embracing his evil and showing zero remorse. He also swore at the victims' families and smiled during the trial. Despite being 17 at the time, TJ was tried as an adult. TJ was given 3 life sentences, but in 2014 he escaped from prison in Ohio. Police searched for him and found him the following day in the woods. Ever since, TJ has been held in a maximum security prison, only allowed to leave his cell for 1 hour per day. Moving on, let's look at Lewis Matthews. In 2019, Lewis Matthews assaulted a 10-year-old girl. The girl was actually his girlfriend's daughter. He had been doing various bad things to the 10-year-old girl, but one night, Lewis's girlfriend caught him. Lewis panicked, so abducted his girlfriend's daughter. He then took her to a convenience store where he bought bleach and poured it on the girl to try and destroy DNA evidence. Thankfully, he was soon arrested. His own mother didn't even show up for his sentencing as she was so disgusted at her own son, and she was right to be. Lewis Matthews was sentenced to life in prison. On his way out of court, Lewis Matthews shook his attorney's hand and also laughed. It's hard to believe as he was just handed a life sentence, but clearly this man has zero remorse for what he did. Next, we have to look at Demetrius Head. In 2019, Demetrius Head from Alabama was driving a stolen minivan. That's when he crashed into a motorist named Michael Harvey. Michael Harvey walked up to Demetrius's car to make sure he was okay, but that's when Demetrius shot Michael Harvey and also took the life of Michael's passenger, Levester Brennan. Demetrius Head went on the run but was soon caught. But during his trial, he seemed bored. He rolled his eyes, shook his head, and even laughed, causing the judge to get very mad.
Mr. Head, I'm sorry that we're interrupting your nap time, but you need to sit up. How old are you?
30.
Act like it.
Demetrius Head was sentenced to life in prison for what he did. But it's so sad that two people had their lives ended over a minor traffic incident. Finally, we have to look at Batman. In 2020, this convict went viral for his bizarre haircut. He was on trial for various crimes and showed zero remorse in the courtroom. But instead of what he did, people were more focused on his strange hair. He's braided it into some kind of mask with 2 spikes on the top. They say never to judge a book by its cover, but I think we might need to make an exception here. Now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below which of these convicts was the most evil. I've been Charlie, thanks for watching. If you want to see my short videos, check out my second channel. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, then what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.